Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to the LO3 podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Yep, hurricane season. Oh, yeah. Beginning of it, of course. And we're still doing the COVID-19 Shahira Law light procedures. And, of course, they're still doing some of the protest rallies and all that. And you're getting mixed views about the whole Insurrection Act. I'm going to be talking about that, too. So, I got an article on that as well. I know I did one last night, but put more clarification because I learned a couple things on it, which is a good thing, which is good. So, but first, how many of you remember Barack Obama's decision to have the UN resolution on attacking Libya? Oh, yeah. And it was funny because it's just people out there still post on Facebook page about how great of a president he was. And they like to see him back in the White House. Yeah, one of those things. However, I do respect what he said. It was the biggest mistake he made. But we all know he was just a pawn. The minnow in the pond, okay? And I say that in good faith. Yes, I am a critic of Barack Obama. You hear my past episodes. I told people how I feel based on his actions. So, without further ado, this came from the strategicculture.org. Good site. It's a feature story. Came out today, and there's a little video clip. It says, How Barack Obama Destroyed Libya. It's from Daniel Lazer. And one more, I'm going to try to lighten the load a little bit. Yeah, there you go. All right. Just here. You hear dogs in the back? Yeah, I'm in the gazebo along the New River. You know, I can see the Riverside Hotel from here and all that. So they got a bunch of boats. So it's pretty nice. Yeah, I know the curfew's supposed to be starting at 9 p.m., but I just stroll, so I'm not even worried. So, it says here, Libya's long-running civil war has taken a new turn in recent weeks after the Turkish-backed government of National Corps launched an offensive against would-be strongman Khalifa Haftar, pushing him and his Libyan National Army out of Tripoli and a number of nearby strongholds. But anyone who thinks that peace is at the hand after 9 years of anarchy and collapse should think again. All odds are all but certain that all it will do is introduce new chaos into the country that has already seen more than its fair share. But before we speculate about the future, let's pause for a moment to consider the past and how the craziness began. When historians conduct their post-mortem analysis, chance are good that they'll zero in on date, in particular April 13th, 2011. That's the day Barack Obama welcomed Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, Emir of Qatar, to the White House. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had just spent weeks lining up for support for the effort to topple Libyan strongman Muammar Gaddafi in the wake of the Arab Spring. But in mid-March, she decided that the coalition was too Western, too Eurocentric. For delicate post-colonial sensibilities, and so she set out to woo energy-rich Qatar as well. When Al-Thani, hopefully I'm not butchering his name too bad, at last agreed to come on board. His reward was an audience with his coolness himself, the U.S. president. But Obama should have paused before leaping to the unknown, although Qatar enjoys a banging reputation thanks to its extensive economic and cultural ties with the West. Its political profile has been a long, strangely bifurcated, liberal in some respects, increasingly Islamist in others. In the late 1990s, it was making a name for itself as the center of the ultra-orthodox branch of Islam known as Salafism. By 2003, reports were growing that local charities were funneling money to Al-Qaeda, but Washington paid little attention. How could such reports be true if Qatar was helping to depose the Gaddafi, a thorn in the side of American imperialism? If he was working in behalf of the U.S. hegemony, which is to say the ultimate good, didn't that mean that he had to be good as well? Sure, the cartoonish mindset that prevails in Washington. After privately conferring with al-Thani, Obama then paraded him before the press. I expressed to him my appreciation of the leadership that the Emir has shown when it comes to democracy in the Middle East, he told reporters. Actually came from the teleprompter, of course, and in particular that work they have done in trying to promote a peaceful transition in Libya. He's motivated by a belief that the Libyan people should have the rights and freedoms of all people. And it as a consequence, Qatar is not the only supportive diplomatically, but is also supportive militarily. Wow. At which point some imperial has no clothes type have popped up to ask how can an absolute autocrat like al-Thani care about rights and freedoms in Libya when it denies such privileges to his own people at home. Thank you very much. A few hours later, Obama offered a few comments at a Democratic fundraiser in Chicago that were picked up by a not open mic. Pretty influential guy, he said of al-Thani. He is a big booster, big promoter of democracy all throughout the Middle East. Reform, reform, reform. You're seeing it on Al Jazeera. Yes, we can. Now, then he added, now he himself is not reforming significantly. There's no big move toward democracy in Qatar. But you know, the part of the reason is that the per capita income of Qatar is $145,000 a year. That will dampen a lot of conflict. Immense energy wealth adjusted for inflation. Oil prices at the time were pushing $130 a barrel, evidently meaning that Qatar gets a free pass when it comes to democratic nice ties that other countries are expected to observe. But Obama was wrong about what all that money would do. Rather than tamping down conflict, it fanned it, using his position in the U.S.-led alliance serving for political and diplomatic covers. al-Thani seized the opportunity to distribute an estimate $400 million to Libyan Salafist rebels in the form of machine guns, automatic rifles, and ammo. Within months, insurgents were hoisting the maroon and white Qatari flag over Gaddafi's once impregnable presidential complex in Tripoli. The result was bedlam. Even though Libya would eventually effect an elected national parliament, gunmen flush with Persian Gulf cash forced it to adopt a host of Islamist reforms, burqas, gender segregation, compulsory hijabs at universities, the works. Islamists went on a rampage, killing U.S. Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens in September 2012, which is September 11th, by the way. Kidnapping Prime Minister Ali Zidane in October of 2013. Kidnapping a group of Egyptian diplomats following January, and then storming the National Parliament 2 months later, shooting and injuring 2 lawmakers. The Obama administration thought of punishing Qatar by holding off military assistance and the like, but after objection from both the Pentagon and the State Department, and the administration held its tongue, a Libyan politician named Mohammed Ali Abdullah would later say of the Americans, they created the monsters we are dealing with today, which is these militias that are so empowered, they will never subordinate themselves to any government. Quite right. And those monsters have only grown bigger and more vicious as the years have passed. So why did the USA allow a close ally to overturn the apple cart? One reason is incompetence, but another is America's long-standing alliance with Sunni extremists. Remember, rather than merely cooperating with such extremists, America helped call them into existence by partnering with the Saudis to create an anti-Soviet holy war in Afghanistan in the 1980s. Even though the effort left Afghanistan in ruins, the pattern has repeated itself again and again in Bosnia, Syria, Yemen, and Libya as well. Whenever Americans intervene in the Muslim world, Sunni jihads backed by Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and other Persian Gulf oil monarchies invariably follow. Despite occasional blowback in the form of 9/11 and other such incidences, the U.S. jihadi alliance has continued without major interruption. The result in the case of Libya is a black hole when more or less some functional state used to be. Since geopolitics abhor a vacuum outside, powers can't resist throwing themselves into the fray, but not only are Islamists on the GNA side, they are increasingly prominent in the Haftar camp as well. Since such elements are ultimately loyal to their paymasters in the Gulf, deepening chaos can only be the result. Only result. Keep that in mind as the anarchy in the Libya intensifies and spreads, leading in the worst case scenario to a military blow-up between Turkey and Russia, which is amongst Haftar's prime supporters. With no one knows how far the process will go, we have a good idea of how the breakdown began, with Barack Obama's belief that money would buy peace. This is how corrupt oligarchies think, but it made no sense, and it makes even less now that energy prices are crashing through the floor and the region is sliding deeper and deeper into ruin. Well, what can you say about that? Wow, right? Yes, we can. Bow down to the puppet messiah. But you know what's funny about that? I remember all those activists and protesters out there and critics were going after George W. Bush and Dick Cheney on the invasion of Iraq, which I boldly opposed. However, when President Obama talked about attacking Libya, nothing but crickets. When I bring it to their attention, they just look at me like a deer staring at the headlights. Man, that's why I tell folks like that, on these political faction cheerleaders, exceptionalism is null and void. So when you have bone fetchers that's supposed to represent as an elected ambassador for the states, for the states, that's what the U.S. president's all about. But however, they just did a little few dents along the way, and everyone's like, okay. Or they don't teach us in these government schools, or the idiot box, of course. It backfires. This is why I always tell people, I don't give a damn who's in there. We need to get out of the Middle East, bring all our troops home around the world. The empire game has to end. And this is why the most disturbing example of what happened in Libya, and you're talking to a person, I can see some pros and cons of Gaddafi. However, he got taken out, not for the people, because they claim that he's treating the people like garbage. One, he was against Sharia law, and two, he wanted to do his own version of the African Union, and he had the money that's backed up by gold. That's why. The banksters hated him. And Barack Obama was the whole thing, parading around, saying how great my father is and all that. So you know what? He was the contributor. Even though he wasn't the mastermind, but the contributor for the cause, what happened to that nation right now. And you know what? I condemn it. To all you people, bootlickers, that still support Obama, you gotta better look into the mirror, because he did other things. However, he says that was the biggest mistake he made. On how authentic that is, we have to make our own judgment. If he's for real, yes, he needs to repent and talk about it. If not, they should call out Hillary too, because she wants to talk about her maybe running for president. Do you want that neocon to be in representing the Democratic Party? It's like bringing in George W. Bush again. That's right, another Bushite. So in Qatar and all those folks, is a lot of dirty dealing and opportunists out there. And the people who suffer the most are the residents from that nation. And that's all I got to say on that aspect. But we're going to do one more, just keeping it real brief. And we're going to do another thing on Insurrection Act. Would it allow Trump to send troops to a state over governor's protest? And who wrote this? I don't know if I find who wrote this. You don't really have an author in this? Yeah, David S. Cloud from the LA Times. Let's see what it has to say about it. It's pretty interesting here. And it says here, could President Trump order troops onto the streets of a major American city over the objections of local and state officials? Trump threatened to do so on Monday, saying that if governors and local officials fail to end civil unrest, he would deploy the military to do the job for them. Normally, military troops are forbidden by law to be involved in law enforcement within the U.S., but that prohibition has some exceptions. The main one involves an Insurrection Act, the first passed early in the country's history. It's 1807, under which a president can order active duty troops to be used for domestic law enforcement if doing so is needed to suppress an insurrection or civil disturbance. In most cases, the law allows the president to do that only if he asked to do so by a state governor or legislator. In 1992, for example, when the acquittal of police officers on charges beating motorist Rodney King sparked rioting in Los Angeles, California, National Guard units were federalized at the request of then Governor Pete Wilson to quell the riots. This was the last time the Insurrection Act was invoked. If a state actively oppressed the use of federal troops, as several governors indicated on Monday that they would, the law might still allow it in certain cases, according to a 2018 report by the Congressional Research Service. One of the main exceptions is that when a state is violating people's rights. In 1957, for example, President Dwight Eisenhower ordered the 101st Airborne Division into Little Rock, Arkansas, and federalized the entire Arkansas National Guard in order to enforce a court order permitting 9 black students to attend a previously all-white high school. Presidents John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson later used the same legal authority to enforce court orders for desegregation in several southern states. Some of Trump's rhetoric has suggested his administration lawyers might try to justify deploying troops by arguing that rioters were depriving citizens of their civil rights. An argument of that sort would be unprecedented, but Trump has often shown a willingness to flout precedent. Sending troops to quell riots without a request from the state is not automatically allowed under the law. In 2007, Congress loosened restriction on deployments, giving a president the power to employ federal troops to restore public order and enforce the laws of the United States without a request from a governor or legislator of the state involved. But the provision was repealed a year later because of objections by states that give the federal government too much power. And I know, I remember I did talk about it yesterday too, about the whole thing on habeas corpus, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. So rebellion or invasion. Rebellion is like, it's almost a term like insurrection. I could be mistaken, but it's something I learned here that they, they had to repeal it. So a little bit more clarification. Well, I talked about it yesterday. But one thing I told folks, I know a lot of people do support military troops on the ground to civil this thing down or terminate it completely, because many of us are saying it is a New World Order coup. And what you've been seeing around the countries or a lot of states, you got a bunch of riffraff, not protesters, okay, criminals. All right, so I want to make sure I'm going to clarify that, because even a lot of protesters were calling out insurgents and infiltrators and all that, and criminal elements. Okay, I've been seeing multiple videos on that, and these are people that were even white, black, it doesn't matter. Even people that's trying to march for Black Lives Matter, they're saying, you're not representing us. Don't forge our names. Like it's like one person, couple girls. It looks like possible they're from Antifa, according to some sources. The way it was done, provocateurs trying to spray paint BLM, and a woman go, no, you're not. You don't desecrate our cause. So there's some admiration from these people. That's why I don't, go around. I'm not gonna go after. I'm not gonna say all these protesters are animals, which is completely invalid. All right. That's why I separate them, the provocateurs, the criminal elements, from the true activists and protesters. Many of these people, they go around. They're just nothing more than that's trying to stir stuff up. They're just walking antimatter. But this is very interesting about the whole insurrection thing. So this is why I do believe the first line of defense, and it's been proven again, the police aren't obligated to protect you and your property, a la Minneapolis and many other places. So yes, if you got to use your natural inherited rights to defend your property and your family, including yourself and innocent people, so be it. Like what happened over here in Fort Lauderdale. Fortunately, it was like minor damage, but I told all those people over there, you know what you do? Have a little corral, have a caucus. If something like this occurs, get some Dobermans and 12-gauge shotguns ready. Just have them ready, have the dogs ready to go. And they'll think twice of going through there, okay? Because I saw one video of sounds like an Asian store owner had a firearm, like a semi-auto rifle, aiming at one of the looters, and that looter took a dump in his pants. So that's the thing. The criminals love dishing it out, but hate receiving. That's how you gotta treat them. If that's the only language you can comprehend, then you give them a taste of their own medicine. Let's see how they react to it. So all that in good faith, and it's all on principle, because a lot of good folks, even the ones that are African American people, got their businesses ransacked. And they are hurting big time. They're just an example. So you can't use that white privilege term on me, because it's unmeritable. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, or say something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondences with decorum. Furthermore, I will leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. If you want to donate, hit me at paypal.me/LokiLuck number 3. The number 3, okay? So, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.